pre-order bonuses. These days, it's just a publisher's way of trying to wangle more of your cash out of you. I mean, it's a digital game. It's not going to sell out. The way they try to hoodwink your money away is to dangle a useless pre-order bonus like a character skin in front of you, like some sort of multicoloured carrot. We had pre-order bonuses back in the 90s. However, they weren't even near the level of scum we have today. Back then, not only were you securing an actual physical product that could sell out, but you would get something of worth, like a player's guidebook, a gold cartridge, or a 20-minute phone card. Thanks, Capcom. So, in this episode, we take a look at these supplemental shams, these additional extortions, and these derivative deceptions. As I say. But, hello you. I'm Guru Larry, and I welcome you to Fact Hunt. 5 pre-order gaming scams. 2. Electric Boogaloo. Ubisoft's unimaginably terrible Watch Dogs in 2014 managed to hide the fact that it was a cheap GTA clone by pushing its ill-devised hacking gameplay mechanic to the forefront of the title's marketing. Another thing Ubisoft tried to hide was that the version they showed off at E3 in 2012 had a far higher level of texture and geometry quality than was actually in the final release build of the game. But because this is Ubisoft, and Ubisoft is the worst, it turned out that the E3 assets were actually still in the game files, and the graphics had just been nerfed. But why were they nerfed? Because Ubisoft, that's why. This game got panned on Metacritic by users for many reasons. Some saying people hated the Temu version of Kiryu Kazama as seen in the game's opening sequence. Some users, like Daram CD1 here, pointed out that in a game called Watch Dogs, there are literally no dogs. Then again, this is the type of human who gets disappointed there's no bath in most bathrooms. However, many people just found the title's main character, Aiden Pierce, to be the most boring thing to have ever been inflicted upon the human race since the invention of Belgium. There's also a trophy in this game awarded to players immediately after the opening cutscene. 5.4% of all players were so bored of this game they couldn't even make it through that. So Ubisoft, bless them, thought they would spice up the game by scientifically creating the most aggravating pre-order bundle collection humanly possible. I mean, I know a lot of people thought Space Marine 2 was a bit heavy-handed with its 4 different versions at launch. Well, Watch Dogs had 9. That's right, 9. 9 different pre-order bundles. Just what the bloody hell were they thinking? Look at this graph! Just looking at the graph that details what crap comes with each version is enough to give you the most boring headache you've ever had. But can you spot the obvious flaw with this mess of a pre-order system? That's right, not a single tier of pre-order actually gives you all the items. So no matter which way you decide to waste your money, no single bundle will grant you all the crap they want to throw at you. If, for some reason, you actually wanted all of this tat, you'd have to shell out for 3 separate versions. 3! And while we're at it, no Ubisoft, you can't label something Aiden's iconic cap when it's something that's totally unestablished. It's not even iconic all these years later. And do you know why that is? It's because it's a generic, almost plain black baseball cap. Bloody Ubisoft. In 2016, Activision once again wheeled out a Call of Duty game, but this time had a futuristic space theme. And like we saw with He-Man and G.I. Joe, the futuristic reboot means that the studio has completely run out of new ideas. The public was sceptical, and by the looks of things, even Big Bad Bobby had his doubts. If Activision truly believed in this game in the same way that wrestling fans believed in Joe Hendry,
say his name and he appears, I believe in Joe Hendry,
then they probably wouldn't have bundled in a remastered version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, a fresh version of the game that catapulted the series to mainstream success. It's fair to say that gamers were more interested in the Modern Warfare remaster than Infinite Warfare, but to avoid their new game selling poorly, Activision were quick to tell everyone that the only way to be able to get the new remaster was to buy the new game, and they definitely were not going to sell it separately. They even went a step further on the PlayStation and forced you to have the Infinite Warfare disc in the drive if you wanted to play Modern Warfare, even though the remaster was a separate download altogether. And what do you think happened a few months later? Well, because Activision couldn't resist making even more money, and because every word that comes out of Bobby Kotick's face is a lie, of course they released the Modern Warfare remaster as a separate purchase. So a giant middle finger to all those who bought Infinite Warfare just for the remaster because they were explicitly told that was the only way they'd be able to play it. So, to show Activision the same level of contempt it shows to its fans, I didn't even bother recording footage of the game and have just used some old Black Ops Cold War footage. So, if you did notice, don't worry. All these soulless Call of Duty games are about as unique as a decade of FIFA titles. Video games are one of the only products where you can be shown a hype trailer, then be sold a pre-order based on said trailer, only to receive a completely different product when it releases. I mean, this doesn't happen with food, does it? You don't get shown an advert for a hamburger, but when you buy it from the store, it looks nothing like what you saw. No, hang on. That's exactly what happens. Anyhow, between Aliens Colonial Marines, Cyberpunk 2077, and No Man's Sky, it's impossible to pick who is the worst offender here. So let's just put all three of these bait and switch titles in this entry. First off, Aliens Colonial Marines. When the game was first shown at E3 in 2012, we should have known something was up from the minute Randy Pitchford opened up his mouth full of hyperbole. We were shown amazing graphics and NPC characters that interacted with the world around them in the most lifelike way. What we got was Nerf graphics and NPCs that fell through the floor. Next up, we have No Man's Sky, which promised the Earth and delivered a turd. Dinosaur-infested planets to explore in between intergalactic space shootouts were what we were promised at E3 2014. But when everyone bought to the game 2 years later, it was clear there was less content than a Carl Jobst apology video. And last, but not least, we have Cyberpunk 2077, which has already been talked about to death on this channel and the entire internet. So let's move swiftly on to the other thing all these games have in common, and that's they all turned out okay in the end. Yeah, even Aliens. If you play these games with the latest patches installed, they're all pretty good games. Okay, Aliens still has iffy NPCs now, but the main game is pretty decent. So, it just goes to show that the reputations of these games could have been completely different if they just spent a little bit more time in the oven. Well, that, and if Brandy Pitchford was kept locked away from the public. When you pair the words electronic arts and live service game together, you know what that video game is going to be like. Awful. But what did they expect when they are lifting gameplay mechanics directly from Superman 64? In case you are blissfully unaware, this is Anthem, a team-based looter shooter brought to you by the House of Hawkins, where everyone gets to be a crap version of Iron Man. But the real superhero here is EA, because they managed to create a game which you wear a super-powered spacesuit which can fly while shooting aliens with laser guns, and make it as dull as dishwater. It's incredible what they've managed to achieve here. The graphics are really nice. The home area in which you plan your missions and tinker with your suit is very refined and well thought out. Even the shooting mechanics are quite decent. But the game as a whole is wrist-splittingly bad. Go to the waypoint marker, press switch, shoot aliens that appear, repeat for about 100 hours and pay EA $60 for the privilege. But of course, just releasing a terrible game is not enough for EA. Why just make you feel apathy when you can feel seething anger instead? So, selling pre-orders that come with a few days early access is a commonplace scam for a lot of studios run these days. But EA is a cut above the rest when it comes to scams, so they put out 5 different pre-order versions across the different platforms, with 3 different starting times people could begin playing. And you know what the best part was? None of them worked. No matter which version you had, they were broken and bugged. And that's if you were lucky enough, or unlucky, to even be able to log in. Hilariously, people that had bought the game through EA's Origin service got the worst version. While some console users eventually were able to get in and see how rubbish Anthem was, Origin users were stuck on the login screen. So anyone that pre-ordered the game to get early access shouldn't have bothered, because they probably weren't even able to play it until after the full release date. Well, EA are nothing if not consistent. Consistently crap. In 2016, Square Enix took us to the futuristic world of 2029, where cyborgs were commonplace and Lily Allen read the news, for some reason. But not everything here is bad. The actual game of Deus Ex Mankind Divided is pretty good. How you go about each mission is pretty open-ended. Do you try and stealth your way to your target? Maybe have a go at using all the gadgets available and make a tactical advance. Or maybe just go old school and blast everyone's faces off with a shotgun. The choice is yours to make in this world, which feels busy and alive. And for a game released in 2016, the graphics still hold up quite well, all tied in with physics-based gameplay that can be used in some really interesting ways. Square Enix had a certified hit on their hands, so they had to think long and hard on how they were going to screw up the release of Deus Ex. But if there's one thing Square Enix knows, it's how to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, and they came up with the Augment Your Pre-Order scheme. They looked at Kickstarter and started thinking that people enjoyed paying money in groups, completely missing the point they only did this to get something that wouldn't be created otherwise, and not because forming online groups and handing over money was some sort of euphoric pleasure. So the Augment Your Pre-Order scam consisted of 2 ridiculous elements. The first was that when you pre-ordered a game, you only get to pick one of the different bonuses available in each tier. So straight away there is content you're not going to get. But to really add insult to injury, the tiers after the first one only became available after a certain number of people signed up to this pre-order nonsense. Gamers complained and called Square Enix out for their dirty money-grabbing scam. Then, within a month of revealing this absurd Augment scheme, the whole thing was cancelled. Hello you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to be first to see future Fact Hunt episodes. Click on the bell if you already are to make sure you're notified, and be sure to check out my other episodes. And if you want to be super awesome, check out my Patreon. But Thanks again for watching, and until next time, friends, I'm missing you already.